What I find interesting in Hollywood is how some movies get made and nothing happens. Apparently, this was filmed like 3-ish years ago and it's finally be released. I'm just thinking about like how some movies are made quickly and released within a year, and stuff like this just sits on a shelf. Like you're throwing money away. I just don't understand it. Or it's sitting on a shelf because it's not a good movie. Chase Lee Hockey here with the Blue Futon, reviewing The Home. What's about? Pretty simple premise. Pete Davidson is basically a no good druggie that's living on people's couches, doing graffiti. He gets caught by the cops, and instead of going to jail, he has to help at this nursing home for 4 months for probation/community service. While he's there, he realizes, wait a minute, something's not right with the fourth floor and some of the older people in this home, and he's got to figure out what is happening here. Is it a government conspiracy, or is it something else? So, did I like this film? Not really. It's a weird movie where if you kept it more simplistic or not have this stupid undertone, it would have been a better film. But since you want to add this like eye-rolling like backstory of what is actually occurring in the background and some of the dialogue that Pete Davidson says in certain moments, you're just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because when the final 5-10 minutes comes, it's bombastic, it's gory, it's over the top. 5 people left the theater. I kind of laughed like when this violence was happening. It's like, the movie's about over. You're walking out now, like that gore doesn't, but the gore was pretty intense, so it is what it is. But come on, if you're going to stay for the whole hour and a half movie, you got to watch the payoff. Also, the eye effects. I'm a horrible when it comes to eye effects, and there's some pretty good eye effects where you're just like, oh my god, I can't watch it. The eye is getting poked by a needle, and you're just like, And the premise of the thing that is occurring in the nursing home is interesting. We're like, okay, I've kind of seen this before, and it does take like a Shining kind of look with it does with pictures, and it does take some formulaic and or copies from other movies, but I didn't mind it because of the interesting aspect leading to this scenario. However, the more you think about the scenario and what is actually explained at the end, it really doesn't come together, especially with they're saying like they've been doing it from day in and day out. It's like you would have noticed something that's occurred to your body and just how everything turns out. So like I said, I understand maybe why this was sitting on the shelf for so long, because it is a jittery, incohesive mess when you actually think about the story. Like, this is written in such a weird way where it's like, I have an ending, I have what we're trying to do here, but getting there, you're just gonna have to like fill in the blanks with all these freaking potholes, because the potholes, I'm calling them potholes, not plot holes, are freaking big, and when you drive over them, you're just going on the freaking road. Okay, acting fine by all the characters involved. It is what it is. Like, I'm not gonna dog Pete Davidson for doing what he's doing. I think he did an okay job. I think all the old people did a good job in this movie as well. So it's not just that. It is some of the cringiest, just eye-rolling dialogue ever, where it's like the backstory is about climate change, okay? It's one of those things where it's like, you're doing a horror story about a kind of interesting twist, and you add climate change. It's more me being like, yo, The Avengers is such a good movie. However, where's the Epstein list? And you're just like, wait, what? But the Avengers has Captain America, Thor, and you're just like, then all of a sudden, like, Ant-Man would be like, yo, I'm about to go in the government and see where this list, or if this list even exists. And you're just like, what? This is about Thanos. What are you doing here? And so that felt like that quote-unquote twist, because when he's on the fourth floor, they're talking about oil, and everything on the screen is about a hurricane happening on the coastline. And everything happening on the TV is about a hurricane occurring and how it's unprecedented. Also, there's also another undertone with this movie about how the older generation has stolen everything from the younger generation. I mean, no, at a point, it's like, I know a lot of younger people than me that have succeeded, not because of TikTok and YouTube, just because of right career choices. Because they don't want to live in New York or LA or like Denver or all these expensive liberal cities. And they could put like, oh my God, my apartment is $4,000 for a shoebox. Well, you could live probably like in Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, St. Louis, and probably have that $4,000 a month, get you like a 3,500 square foot house, but you're refusing to make changes. So it's like at a point, I don't feel sorry for you. I just don't, to some extent. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, you got to get out of your comfort zone to live life. I have to move every 2-3 years for work. Out of my comfort zone, it sucks, but you know what? That's life, and it is what it is. Suck it up, buttercup. And I pull up by your bootstraps. Well, some of it is because, especially with this, when Pete Davidson is about to get a needle in the eye, he goes, "You take everything from me." What? So your final words might be, you've taken everything from me. Bro, you were doing drugs in a meth house in the middle of a city. Whose fault is that? No one was telling you to go smoke weed and do meth or whatever you were doing in that house. No one told you to spray paint the wall, even though it's multiple colors on the wall and you only have red paint. So I don't know how that occurred. And I do notice like little issues like that where it's like he only has one can of paint. It's red, but the mural is black, red, white, yellow, and orange. Okay, whatever. Attention to detail, please. So just the underlying messages like that are eye-rolling. And it does feel like it does drag for a little bit if you're even more an hour and a half movie. Because you're at a point because it's adding a little bit too much like a guy and a dog, government conspiracies, the light, the Mark ones. I understand that you want to add these small twists and turns to a movie, but this is something that you don't need to add subtext to it. Just be a simplistic horror movie. And I do think a lot of people would have liked this more. Because if you would have taken out that silly dialogue and improved like the gory aspect of the last like 15 minutes and made it absolutely more bombastic, I think more people would enjoy this movie. But overall, The Home, yes, is an interesting premise, and I do think it was an enjoyable ride to get to point A to point B to point C to kind of understand what is occurring. However, the more you think about this movie or when you're driving home, you're going to see these plot holes and be like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense, and that doesn't make sense. And then when you actually think about the subtext of the underlying message of like older generations taking everything from the younger generation and climate change, you're like, that has nothing to do with this film. So The Home will receive a 2 out of 5 with Futon, which goes at 40%. Let's see what the critics and user scores gave this one. Oh, and just a heads up, this is the same director who did like 3 of the Purges, and I'm only a fan of the first Purge. All the other ones suck butt. Anyway, 21% with 29 critics, 61% with over 50 verified reviews, no critic consensus, 21, 40, 61. Pretty spectrum-ish, if you know what I mean. Chase like here's the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. One only Futontopia. You Blue Tony, thank you for watching. Have a great day. I don't care if you watch this today, tomorrow, a week from now, a month, or a year from now. I love every single freaking one of you. Peace and love. Peace and love. And are you going to put your parents in a nursing home? I'm not.